Alec Lasley joining us from thehoosier.com. Alec, how's it going, brother?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Trying to keep up, man. Need a scorecard. Need scorecards now with football, basketball. So much talent coming in, getting on campus. And both sports this week had a visit that was impactful, very, very impactful. We'll talk about the football one later with Dustin. Of course, that's Josh Hooper. He's going to join us, Texas quarterback, who I'm just watching his highlights. I'm like, wow, this dude is phenomenal. But then yesterday's visit, everybody's hitting up on the comments about Kaleb Glenn's visit from Louisville. And first of all, I can count on one hand how many times I remember Indiana recruiting a kid from Kentucky. They don't produce a ton of talent, and if they do, you got Louisville and Kentucky there. So that just doesn't happen. Now you got a kid that is from Louisville and apparently had a hell of a visit, but Indiana is a different place now. And from all of that I've read, it went extraordinarily well.
Yeah, I mean, that he's obviously class of 23, so still a long time to go in his recruitment. But if there was any sort of visit or any sort of day-long trip to any campus that would have helped any school in this scenario, it was Indiana yesterday. Talking to his coach, who also made the visit with him prior to the visit, Indiana was definitely a school that they were at least interested in. A lot of people had him kind of in towards Louisville already at this early stage, but that visit yesterday definitely kind of at least opened up the door even more for Indiana to not only continue to be involved in that recruitment, but then obviously assuming there's no early decision, which it doesn't sound like there will be anytime soon, to get him on campus a year from now for an official visit, which will just obviously continue to build that relationship. But yeah, yesterday went great, about as good as you can do for an unofficial visit. And the consistent theme that we're seeing here is everyone who's getting on campus is blown away not only by the campus, but by what Mike Woodson and that staff is really able to communicate with them. Not only the stories, but just the style of play, the really what they're trying to build Indiana as. And that's what everyone's seeing at this moment. When they leave campus, everyone is pretty much blown away by what Indiana has to offer at this current moment.
Well, I was talking to some folks yesterday. Mike Woodson personally takes recruits around campus. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's
for 4 years.
Yeah.
That did not happen for 4 years in Bloomington. I can tell you that right now, amongst a lot of other things. But he has a 32-point tour, a 32-stop tour that he takes them on. To show them everything personally. I don't know how many, and I know he's too old to recruit and all that. And it's going to be hard for him to recruit these kids because of his age and all that. That's tongue in cheek. Yeah. 32-point that he's out walking these kids around campus. How many college coaches are out there doing that? I mean, I don't know that I've ever even heard of that, which that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I can't imagine that happens in a lot of places. I don't think that Mike Krzyzewski was walking kids around campus. Just a guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest difference between the two staffs already. Mike Woodson is, and maybe
this one's involved with their players?
Yeah, yep. This one could be a little bit different though right off the bat, just because obviously you come in fresh. This is your first recruiting class that you need, and obviously you want to set the groundworks for the future classes as well. But Mike Woodson seems like a guy already that we've seen over the first about 3 weeks here with visits, that they've had probably about 3 guys on campus every single week that is going to be involved and going to be, if not the lead recruiter in a lot of these, right there with one of the assistants who's always going to be talking to these top players. And that's the biggest difference between Archie Miller and Mike Woodson, not only because Mike Woodson is putting in the effort from the very beginning And you're seeing that with these visits and what these prospects are saying after they get off of campus, but then also what he's doing to follow that up. And he's really making a lot of these kids a priority right now. Obviously, we'll have to see, when it starts to fall and when these recruits start to make their announcements, and see who Indiana obviously does get coming up here in the 2022 class, and then obviously the 23 class. But you can't be off to a better start than what Mike Woodson's doing from the background, and then also what he's actually doing to face on campus.
We can debate what Archie Miller's biggest problem was all day, I can tell you that. But and talking more about Kaleb, the kid from Louisville. Louisville has problems. The fans, they can ignore that. They've got NCAA problems coming, and theirs may be the worst of all, because I don't think they've still been punished for their last infraction yet. So don't know when that's going to come. So that hasn't stopped people from going there yet. But also but now they don't have a Rick Pitino there that's an NBA producer type coach. Then you look at Calipari. He didn't produce jack. All those kids that came in were going to the NBA. The only reason they stopped at Kentucky is because there's a rule that requires them to play a year in college, to sit out. They can't have to be 19. He didn't produce anything. This staff, they are developing these kids, and they have plans on how to develop them. And to me, that is a gigantic difference between Kentucky and what Indiana is about to be.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's going to take some time before we truly see, what players get developed under Mike Woodson. But you can already see just in his recruiting pitches exactly what he's trying to do with these guys, and that's why they're all buying into it already. You see it with Trace Jackson Davis, who wants to come back because he knows what Mike Woodson told him is going to help him if he wants an NBA career. And that's not to just make it in the NBA. That's to have a long career and to play, 6, 9, 10 plus years, which is what a lot of these one and done players don't end up doing. I don't want to say this because this is not the right way to say it, but it's a lot easier to make it in the NBA than it is to stay in the NBA. So a lot of these kids want to be fully developed now because they see how easy it is after 1 or 2 seasons, once their rookie contract is up or once their 1 year guarantee is up, for them to be back in the G League or overseas. Obviously, you can still make a great living doing that. That's not to knock on any of those guys, but I think you're going to start to see a big shift in what these high school players or even transfers are going to be looking for, and that's going to be a true path to stay in the league for a long time. And that's what you get with Mike Woodson, because he's been there before and he knows what it takes to stay in the league for a while, and also knows what it takes to coach in that league and kind of what the teams are looking for. Especially now with kind of the skill positions and everything that the NBA is going towards.
Tim mentions that Glenn's coach said that every IU staff member could be a college head coach somewhere right now, is what he meant to say. That's a nice statement. That says a lot. I mean,
just talking to him right when Glenn got the Indiana offer about 2 weeks ago. He was just blown away by just the entire coaching staff that IU had put together, the persistence that they have, but also
we haven't mentioned Thad Matta. We haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
It's so deep.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I know we have a comment over here, Brian Walsh as well. He cannot be talked about enough. He has been one of the most underrated parts of a college program over the past 5-6 years. And you didn't see that with the previous staff, but the relationships that he had built with a lot of these high school coaches and recruits in the 2022 and 23 class, talking to coaches now, talking to whether they're high school or AAU coaches, whether they're family members of these recruits, the one name that they always talk about is Ben Walsh. And that's one of the biggest assets that Indiana can have right now, keeping him on staff along with someone like a Kenya Hunter. But Yeah, Brian Walsh is one of the really good young minds in college basketball, so it would not shock me to see him move up to a full-time bench assistant role in the next few years.